Hello and welcome. By listening to today's sermon, your life will be better on purpose.
According to Mark, and we're going to the 15th chapter.
15th chapter?
15th chapter, starting with verse number 1. That's Mark, 15th chapter, starting with verse 1.
Amen.
Give this a few more seconds. I can imagine some pages still turning. I used to say I hear pages turning, but I can't hear them right now, but I can imagine there might be some turning. Fingers sliced. Mark 15th chapter, verse number 1. And you see these words are something very similar. Early in the morning, the chief priests met hurriedly with the elders, the teachers of the law, and the whole council, and made their plans. They put Jesus in chains, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate. Pilate questioned him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "So you say." The chief priests were accusing Jesus of many things. Verse 4. So Pilate questioned him again, "Aren't you going to answer? Listen to all their accusations." Again, Jesus refused to say a word, and Pilate was amazed. This morning, I want to preach from the subject. Jesus was set up and framed.
All right.
Jesus was set up
Set up
and framed. It was about 3:47 a.m. on this Thursday morning when God woke me up. I wasn't ready to get up yet, because on one of those few occasions I was sleeping so good. Didn't even have to go to the bathroom yet. Tried to go back to sleep, but the good sleep moment had passed me by. Have anybody ever had that before? Sleeping so good in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden you're up. And don't have to be up. The alarm clock ain't even ready to go off yet. Don't even have to use the bathroom, but you're up. So me, just like some of you all, I tried to go back to sleep. I looked at the time again, and it was 5:06 a.m. And it was as though God was saying to me, "Get up. Get up right now." I started laughing within myself, because, when I'm up in the middle of the morning like that, and knowing Tisa have to get up sometime shortly, I try not to make any movements in the bed, because when you're in the bed, you feel movements of other people if you're sharing it. So I tried not to move, so I laughed within myself, and because usually when this happens, God is urging me to pray. And there are sometimes God is simply inspiring me with a message for myself, or to share with the people that He allowed me to lead.
That's it.
That was interesting, because I thought I was through with my sermon preparation for the week already. I had already put it in the crock pot to simmer. To wait for Sunday morning, because I knew that was the message. It was in the crock pot already, simmering, just like some of us do when you know how you use a crock pot and you put the meat and all the stuff in, and you go to work and it simmers for hours and hours, and when you get home it tastes so good. That's how I feel I do my sermon. When I finish it, I put it in the crock pot and just let it simmer. But God said no. Somebody say no.
No.
God said no. And God directed me to say that message in a meal, and instead I was to metaphorically fire up the pit boss barbecue grill and put some meat on it.
All right.
So this is that message coming from Mark, the 15th chapter, verse 1 through 5 that I just read earlier. You know, I have been fascinated for mostly all of my life with law. In particular, court cases. I don't know what it was. Well, I guess I do. But law has always fascinated me. And it just, I can remember one of the very first cases I remember happening as a kid. And it was the time I was with my great-grandparents. And being with my great-grandparents, we would watch on our 12-inch black and white field code TV. And most of you all may not remember the field code TVs, but they are now called Philips. And Philips is a company that makes TVs, light bulbs, and many other electrical equipment. Philips is also the name that used to be on the building that Atlanta Hawks play in, which is now State Farm Arena.
That's right.
But anyway, on that 12-inch black and white field code TV, we watched a TV show called Perry Mason. Anybody ever heard of the show Perry Mason?
Yeah.
Perry Mason, played by Raymond Burr,
Yeah.
who would also later play the wheelchair confined Chief Robert T. Ironside in the TV show Ironside. Some of you around my age might be a little familiar with who I'm talking about. Perry Mason was a cool and distinguished attorney, and he specialized in defending seemingly indefensible court cases. He was assisted by his secretary Della Street, played by Barbara Hale, and his investigator Paul Drake, played by William Hopper. And they would often find themselves digging deeply into the facts and even the unforeseen facts which would be revealed to win a case. Perry Mason, this cool, this dapper, this debonair attorney, he often relied on his outstanding courtroom skills. And he would oftentimes trick or trap people into unwittingly admitting their guilt. Watching the Perry Mason show, which I recently found out has been remade and will be released this year in 2020 on HBO, led me to eventually be drawn to some other legal shows, such as Night Court. Y'all remember Night Court with big old dude named Bull on it?
Yeah.
Matlock, old Andy Griffin, Ally McBeal, where in the Ally McBeal show, that was the first time on TV they shared bathrooms for men and women. Divorce Court, Judge Judy, Mathis, Judge Wapner, Law and Order, even Special Victim Union. I liked all of them. The Practice, Boston Legal, Murder, She Wrote, How to Get Away with Murder, Suits, and my favorite of all time TV law shows was LA Law. I love me some LA Law. And you know, I loved it so much, I have to familiarize yourself. I have to get you familiarized with it. LA Law was one of the greatest law shows to come on TV that starred Corbin Benson. He played the guy called Ernie. He was the top attorney in the office.
Yeah.
And they even had, in addition to him, one of my favorite actors, Blair Underwood, who played Jonathan Rollins. When I tell you, he went from the bucket to the bank to the bucket in the courtroom. When I tell you, that guy was just so sharp and crisp. Wore them sharp blue botanist suits and them Brooks Brothers suits with the crisp white shirts. When I tell you, Black, I knew it was so sharp as Jonathan Rollins in LA Law. That show won many Emmys, and it was the first show to show what happens at a law firm. It showed the staff meetings, it showed administrative hearings, court arguments, and it showed every aspect of criminal and civil litigation. I was amazed at that show. That show alone almost, somebody say almost caused me to go to law school. That show was so good, and I enjoyed that show so much, it almost made me want to go to law school. Even law movies, there's certain movies that had law rooms and court cases in it that got my attention. But the one in particular that's my favorite is The Firm. The Firm, starring Tom Cruise and Gene Hackman, about a Memphis law firm who only wanted lawyers that was in the top of the class at Harvard University. I enjoyed that movie so much. I think I've probably seen that movie more than most of you all have seen any other movie that you could think of. But the movie The Firm was one of the greatest law movies made that came to screen. And you know, there was a lot of other law movies and court cases that we're familiar with. But what about real life? What about real life court cases that we might be familiar with? Yeah, I know you know about Michael Jackson and the little boys. That ain't who I want to talk about today. Some of y'all even familiar with Harvey Weinstein court case. I don't want to talk about that one either. I don't even want to talk about R. Kelly. Don't want to talk about O.J. Simpson. You know, but I back up. I will say a little something about the O.J. Simpson case. That was the court case that was the most watched on TV. That was the first live court case ever watched on TV. And what was so interesting was about how we started watching this white Ford Bronco just drive slow on the interstate. What is it about law that gets our attention so much? I'ma tell you. Because you want to know what you can and can't get away with. When we were kids growing up, most of us learned early what we can and what we can't get away with. If you did something, you got in trouble, you learned not to do that again. Or you learned what the punishment was and if it was something you were willing to take. I remember once my mom told me I had to be in the house at a certain time.
Yeah.
And because I was having so much fun, I decided the punishment would be something that I was willing to take. Because I knew the worst thing that could happen was either I get a whipping or I got up on put up on the punishment. And I said, there's no whipping that could outlast the fun that I'm having right now. There's no amount of punishment that could take away the fun that I'm having right now. So I made up in my mind that, you know what? I'm just gonna take this one. I ain't going in at 11 o'clock. And I stayed out a long time. And the funny thing about it was, when I got in, I didn't even get a punishment. I didn't get a whipping. I didn't even get a lecture. It was almost as though my mama acted like it didn't happen. I was dumbfounded. I was like, uh-oh, I know something got to be coming. And you know, and my mom just went on the next day, didn't say nothing about it. So I was walking around the house like I was typical tripping on eggshells.
Yeah.
Because I was just waiting on her to just pop me in the mouth for no apparent reason and say that was for last night. I was just waiting on her to do something a little later on so she could say that was for the time you didn't come out, to come in on time. But nothing happened on that time. I stayed out all night long. And you know, I'm amazed how there are times that you get punished for breaking so many laws and so many rules, and there are times you get away with the things that you think you should be punished for.
Yeah.
And then there are times you get caught and framed for something that you didn't even do.
Yeah.
That's where we are right now. That's where we at. This case I'm talking about right now, it's life-changing.
Yeah.
It was impacting. It was transforming. It was influencing. It was mind-blowing. It was consequential, essential, important, purposeful, relevant, worthwhile, and more important than any case we saw on TV, any case we served on jury duty for. This case right here was so important, it made the pages of our Bible. So, in our text, we will see that there was a consultation with the elders, scribes, and the entire council. This was the official setting of the Sanhedrin Council early this morning, according to Luke, Gospel in 22:66-71. This trial was held immediately in the morning for good reason. The details that Jesus was delivered to Pilate for early in the morning is a significant indication of the historical accuracy of their tradition.
Yeah.
It was necessary for the Sanhedrin to bring its business to Pilate as soon after dawn as possible, because the working day of a Roman official began at the earliest hour of daylight. Legal trials in the Roman Forum were customarily held shortly after sunrise. So our Bible tells us early in the morning they delivered Jesus to Pilate. They did this because they didn't have a legal right to execute Jesus on their own. Though there were times when the Jews disregarded this prohibition of the Romans and executed those they considered criminals, such as during the time when they stoned Stephen. But they knew Jesus wasn't a criminal. They knew they had trumped up charges, so they decided they would bring him to Pilate. They did not take things into their own hands regarding Jesus because they knew the multitudes had a favorable opinion of Jesus, and if Pilate executed him, they could say, we didn't do it. They could save themselves from the political fallout and blame it on Pilate and the Roman government. We didn't kill it. The government, the wrong government did it.
Wow.
So the Jewish leader had reason to expect a favorable result when they sent Jesus to Pilate. The secular history during this time shows us that Pilate was a cruel man. He was ruthless and completely insensitive to the moral feelings of others. Surely they thought Pilate would put Jesus to death. I can imagine if his name was Harry, they would call him Hang 'em Harry. I can imagine if his name was Earl, they would call him Electric Chair Earl. I can imagine if his name was Gary, they would call him Gas Chamber Gary. But maybe they just called him Punishing Pilate.
Yeah.
But Pilate simply didn't like the Jews. He only did it to the Jews.
Wow.
And you know, we know there are certain judges who will only punish certain group of people more than they will punish other people. I ain't gonna call no names, and I ain't gonna get into no black and white issues on this day. But Pilate was one of those type of magistrates. He didn't like the Jews. He believed they were stubborn, lazy, and a rebellious group of people. So, since he was constantly suspicious of the Jews, when they brought him a prisoner for execution, he immediately suspected there was hidden agendas, because the Jews were known for lying on one another. They were known for trumping up charges on one another and framing those they didn't like. But nevertheless, before Pilate could make a decision, he had to follow the normal procedures of a court trial. You know how there are some court cases and you see the judge sitting up on the stand, and as they presenting things, the attorney's going through their motions, the judge look like he's writing down things. I believe the judge to be up there doodling, because I know some of the judges probably don't already made up their mind based on who the defendant is, what their sentence is going to be. I know they shouldn't, but that's what I believe some are. And according to Pilate, for him to have the reputation of being ruthless, insensitive, and with no morals, there's no telling what he normally do during presentation. But during this case, the procedure was followed. The Romans, they established a protocol for the criminal trial, and the plaintiff brought an indictment against the accused. The judge, which was Pilate, examined both the accusation and the accused. The two main sources of evidence were the statement of the accused and the evidence brought by the witness, either for or against the accused. And after all the evidence was received, a court official declared that all the evidence had been submitted. Then, the magistrate was then free to consult with their advisors if they choose, and announce their verdict from the judgment bench. And once the judgment was announced, the sentence was executed immediately. That's where Mark picked up the trial of Jesus at that second step of this process. Where they had brought Jesus to Pilate, they said this man is guilty of treason because he claims to be the king of the Jews in opposition to Caesar, who is our king. Therefore, Pilate examined the accused with the question, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Are you the king of the Jews? Because the Jewish rulers knew that if they brought Jesus before Pilate on the charge that he claimed to be God, Pilate would simply yawn with disinterest and probably say, "Well, we Romans have hundreds of gods. What good or what difference does one more make?" So the Jews knew that they had to come up with something more than Jesus saying that he was God or he was the Son of Man. They had to come up with something that would get Pilate's attention. So by them saying that Jesus said that he was the king of the Jews, Pilate had to take it seriously, because that would present a political threat, because there could be but one king, and that was Caesar. Pilate, being a court magistrate, is a representation of Caesar. Jesus was indeed the king of the Jews, but not in a political nor a military way.
That's it.
That's why Jesus said, yes to Pilate's question with reservation. He said, "It is as you say." Like, that's what you said. Or what do you think? And why he said nothing to further accusations against him. The chief priests accused him of a lot of things, but he answered nothing to the accusation. Because if Jesus would have simply said, yeah to Pilate, Pilate would have immediately declared Jesus guilty of treason against Rome. But because Jesus qualified his yes, Pilate had to ask a little deeper questions. And Luke 23:2 tells us that these accusations were, first, Jesus incited the people. He got them fired up and ready to riot because he told them, don't pay your taxes. Can you imagine what happened to people who get a platform and a large following and tell them, don't pay your taxes? That's why somebody said, we're going to church on Easter.
Yeah.
Because somebody got to excite the crowd. Somebody had to get them fired up. So he told them not to pay the tax was one of the accusations. And then they said he imagined himself a king in political opposition to Rome, which means was Caesar. He's trying to take your job. He's trying to be Caesar. And then they said he went all throughout Judea, all throughout the land, spreading this propaganda that he's going to be the king, that he's going to take over, and they're going to be following him and bowing down to him. That got Pilate's attention. And the Sanhedrin council probably saw the look on Pilate's face like, yeah, we got him now. We got him now. You know, it's interesting when you're watching court cases, because when I used to watch court cases, you know, usually they always let the plaintiff come out first with the accusations. And if you listen to the plaintiff, the defendant sound guilty. You know, and I often wonder, because I always look at the defense, when I look at a court case, I always look at the defendant, and I'm trying to see how he's looking. Do he look guilty? Do he look like he did it? You know, it's amazing how you can read people's faces and think they're guilty just by the look of their face. I said I wasn't going to talk about O.J. Simpson too much, but y'all remember that case. Y'all remember how he looked. He was sharp with a suit on. He looked innocent. But in the back of our heads, y'all know a lot of us thought that Joker guilty. He ain't getting away with this. So Pilate was left with nothing left to do but to find Jesus guilty of the charges brought before him. Some trumped up charges. Some charges that was framed on him. So I think about that, and I often wonder, what made Jesus remain silent? Why did he defend himself? And then I go back to remembering some of the old saying that he's a lawyer in the courtroom, and yet he didn't defend himself. And often that kind of puzzled me. How, if he's a lawyer in the courtroom who's never lost a case, didn't defend himself? And then I had to pray. I had to ask God to reveal to me why I thought what I thought. And this is what I came up with through my prayer. There's the silence of several things that happen in our life. And the first one is the silence of wondering admiration. The silence of wondering admiration. It is a compliment for any performance or oration to be greeted with a thunderous applause. But it's a greater compliment for it to be greeted with such a silence that you don't even know how to respond. Have you ever seen someone do something or heard someone say something that blew you away so much you could just you can't even say nothing, your tongue is tied, your hands are tied. It was just so empowering that you couldn't even find a word to utter. Your hands couldn't even come together with a clap. You couldn't even move, you were paralyzed. It was just so amazing what you just witnessed that you were just silent. You were struck with paralysis. That's the silence of the wonder and admiration. Jesus was probably just so dumbfounded at the lies that was told on him, he couldn't even come up with a defense.
Yeah, yeah.
Have anybody ever lied on you so much you couldn't even come up with a defense? You're like, y'all believe that? There's the silence of contempt. And the silence of contempt basically is, this is possible when you greet someone's statement or argument with just a silence not worth answering. I'm not going to even dignify that with a response. And you know, I often wonder, you know, I love responses that people give in courtrooms. You know, when somebody don't want to say they're not guilty, they use certain words like, I categorically deny that. When someone categorically denies something, they're not saying they didn't do it. They try to find out how much proof you have on them. Well, what did you see? Oh, if you didn't see it, it didn't happen. I categorically deny that. Because you didn't see it, it didn't happen.
Yeah, yeah.
But I tell you the one I really like. When someone vehemently denied.
Yeah.
See, when they vehemently denied, that's what, no, I didn't. See, you always trying to believe what everybody, no, I didn't. And they mad, and then they start crying and cussing you out and stuff, trying to prove their innocence, but they know they lying. The silence of contempt. And then there's the silence of fear. The silence of fear is, if I say something, it's gonna hurt me. So I plead not the first, not the second, not the third, fourth, but the fifth. I plead the fifth. Then there's the silence of the heart that it will hurt. It will hurt. If I were to say something, it's gonna hurt those who care about me. It's gonna hurt those who believed in me. So I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna be silent.
Yeah.
Maybe it was one of those things that kept Jesus quiet. And I thought about it, I said, it couldn't have been that. It couldn't have been that. And then I just kept wondering, I kept thinking, I kept praying, and I said, it got to be something more. And then it was as though the Bible opened its pages to me. And it revealed how Jesus said, Pilate already believed him. There's nothing I could say to change his mind. Because Jesus already knew he was ruthless. Jesus knew he didn't like Jews. Jesus knew all these things about him. And Jesus knew that it was Pilate's turn to be on court. So Jesus probably, you know, have you ever already known that ain't nobody gonna believe you no matter how good your defense is? Ain't no sense in me telling you the truth. You already believe what they said. So Jesus didn't say a word. And it marveled Pilate. It marveled him because he's so used to people begging for their life. He's so used to people lying before him, trying to stay innocent. He's so used to people bribing him, offering him money to not send them to the electric chair, send them to the hanging. He was so used to all these things, and yet Jesus didn't say a mumbling word. So Pilate had him crucified. Had Jesus crucified. And what was so interesting about that, all this was done so early in the day because they had to rush this. And they had to rush it because they knew that Sabbath was coming. Sabbath started at 6. The Bible said they hung him at 3.
Wow.
Usually when you hang someone, they say it takes them sometimes days to die. Where Jesus got hung at was a place called Golgotha, which was called the Valley of the Bones. Because what happened was, they said they would hang so many people at that place and the bones would rot off because the animals would come and eat off of it. It was nothing but bones there. But the Bible said they hung him at 3 o'clock. Before 6 o'clock, he was already dead. Joseph Arimathea came to Pilate and said, can I have his body so I can go and have a burial and get all this stuff done before the Sabbath? I'm just amazed how all this happened out of hatred. All this happened out of envy. All this happened because, you know, Jesus got them so mad they wanted to kill him. And they did.
Jesus.
But they said, no, we didn't kill him. Pilate had it done. We just presented the case. So, what would make Jesus, knowing that he's innocent, knowing his purpose, not defend himself? When we know he's the greatest lawyer, when we know he could have defended himself, he could have called God and had God to send down fire and brimstone right there if he wanted to. He could have had them struck with lightning for lying on him. You know, Jesus could have done anything he wanted to defend himself, but yet he didn't say a mumbling word. What caused it? It was love. It was love. Oh,
Thank you, Lord.
what love Jesus had for us. What kind of man is this who died for us and set us free? What kind of man is this who would leave his heavenly home, then come down to give his life as a sacrifice? What kind of man is this? They stretched him wide. They hung him high. What kind of man would let them beat on him like Jesus did? The Bible said they beat him all day long until we saw his very bone. What kind of man is this? What made this man take all of this punishment? What love this man had for us. See, I heard a preacher say very recently, love will make you labor for it. And you will labor for that which you love. Love will make you labor for. You will work for that which you love. You will sacrifice for that which you love. And what you love and what you labor for and what you sacrifice is all because of your love.
Thank you, God.
What man is this that he would give up his life for us? I don't know about you, but I'm so glad. I'm so glad that Jesus went to Calvary. Y'all know those songs. He went to Calvary to save a wretch like you and me.
Thank you, God.
That's love. They hung him high. They stretched him wide. He hung his head. For you and I, he died.
And for nobody else. Thank you, God.
That's love. That's love. But I want y'all to come back next week, because y'all know that's not how the story ends. And next week, I will tell y'all